Hello everyone, this is Ranjit Kaur from PG Department of Computer Science and Information Technology, Doaba College, Jalandhar. Here in this video, I'll give you a brief introduction of matrix and the various types of matrices. So first of all, I'll go through a very basic definition of matrix. So matrix is an array, or you can say it is an arrangement of elements which are arranged in the form of rows and columns. Thus, the size of matrix can be defined by the number of rows and the number of columns it has. So, the rows of matrix can be denoted by the letter M and the columns of matrix can be denoted by the letter N. Now let's see a very simple example of a matrix. As you can see over here, we are having a matrix A, and this matrix has various number of elements such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So these are the elements of matrix A. So how many rows are there in this matrix? 1, 2. That means 2 rows. And how many columns are there in this matrix? 1, 2, 3. That means 3 columns. So you can see over here we have written 2 by 3. That means 2 rows and 3 columns. So moving further, now let's see what are the various types of matrices are there. As you can see over here, there are these different types of matrices: row matrix, column matrix, square matrix, rectangular, diagonal, scalar, identity, triangular, null or zero matrix. So moving ahead, now let's see what is row matrix. So a row matrix is a matrix with only one row. That means this matrix has only one row in it. Let's see an example of this matrix. Here you can see we are having a matrix A and it is having 2, 4, 5. These are the elements of A. So how many rows are there? Only one row is there in this matrix. Thus, this is known as row matrix and the value of M, that means the value of row, is 1. So this is all about your row matrix. So moving further, let's see the second type of matrix. The second type of matrix is column matrix. So a matrix which has only one column, that matrix is known as column matrix. As you can see over here is a matrix A and this matrix has 5, 6, 7. These are the elements of matrix A. And how many columns are there? There is only one column in this matrix. Thus, this matrix is known as column matrix and the value of N will be 1. N is your column. So, the number of column in this matrix is 1. That is why this is known as column matrix. So, moving further, let's talk about the third matrix, and the third matrix is square matrix. So now what is square matrix? So if in a matrix the number of rows are equal to the number of columns, that means you are having the same number of rows and the same number of columns, then that matrix is known as square matrix. So let's see an example of square matrix. As you can see over here, we are having a matrix A and this matrix has 4 elements in it, 8, 9, 7 and 6. So how many rows are there in this matrix? 1, 2. 2 rows. And how many columns are there? 1, 2. That means 2 columns. Since this matrix has the same number of rows and the same number of columns, that is why this is known as square matrix, and the value of m and n is same. So this is all about your square matrix. Now let's talk about another type of matrix, which is rectangular matrix. So what is rectangular matrix? If the number of rows is not equal to the number of columns, then that matrix is known as rectangular matrix. That means a matrix which is having different number of rows and different number of columns, such type of matrix is known as rectangular matrix. So let's see an example of this. So here you can see we are having a matrix A and it has 6 elements in it, 9, 6, 8, 2, 5 and 7. So these are the elements of matrix A. So how many rows are there? 1, 2. So the value of m is equal to 2. And how many columns are there? 1, 2, 3. That means 3 columns. So the value of n is equal to 3. So you can see clearly over here the value of m and the value of n both are different. So in rectangular matrix, m is not equal to n. So I hope you are clear with rectangular matrix. So the next matrix is diagonal matrix. So what is diagonal matrix? A square matrix is said to be diagonal if at least one element of principal diagonal is non-zero. So for this we must know what is principal diagonal in a matrix. So can you see over here these elements 2, 5, 4. So these elements are forming principal diagonal of a matrix. So according to the definition of diagonal matrix, a square matrix is said to be diagonal if at least one element of the principal diagonal is non-zero and all other elements are 0. So you can clearly see in this example, we are having a matrix A and all the elements of matrix other than the diagonal elements are 0. So if you see this type of matrix, then this is known as diagonal matrix. So I hope you are clear with the concept of diagonal matrix. So now moving further, now let's see the next type of matrix, and it is scalar matrix. So a diagonal matrix is said to be scalar if all of its diagonal elements are same. Alright. If you see the example of this, here we are having a matrix A and the elements of this matrix are of these types, such as the principal diagonal elements are all same 4, 4, 4 and all other elements are 0. So such type of matrix is known as scalar matrix. So moving further, let's talk about the next type of matrix. So the next matrix is identity, or it is also known as unit matrix. Now what is this? A diagonal matrix is said to be identity or unit if all its diagonal elements are equal to 1, and it is denoted by I, capital I. So now let's see an example of this. So here you can see an example of identity matrix clearly. All the elements of principal diagonal are 1, 1, 1 and 1. And all other elements other than principal diagonal are 0. So this type of matrix where all the elements of principal diagonal are 1 and all other elements are 0, such type of matrix is known as identity matrix. So now let's see the next type of matrix. The next matrix is triangular matrix. So triangular matrix can be either lower triangular or upper triangular. So what is lower triangular matrix? If all the elements above the principal diagonal are 0, okay, above the principal diagonal. As you can see over here, this is our principal diagonal. So how many elements are there in principal diagonal? 3, 1, 5 and 4. 1, 5 and 4. These are the elements of principal diagonal. So according to the definition of lower triangular matrix, all the elements above the principal diagonal are 0, as you can see over here. So this is known as lower triangular matrix. So the next type of triangular matrix is upper triangular matrix. So upper triangular matrix is where all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0. Below the principal diagonal, if all the elements are 0, then that matrix is known as upper triangular matrix. As you can see here in this example, so all these elements are 0 and these elements are below the principal diagonal. Then such type of matrix is known as upper triangular matrix. So moving further, the next type of matrix is null or zero matrix. So if all the elements of matrix are 0, then such type of matrix is known as null or zero matrix. So let's talk about an example of this matrix. So here you can see we are having a matrix capital O, as null or zero matrix is always denoted by capital O and all its elements are 0. That is why this is known as null or zero matrix. So I hope you are clear with the concept of matrix and the various types of matrices. So thank you so much for watching.